Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at our LCAB Publicly Paired Evening of Wine Tasting. Does everyone want to mute themselves? Do you want to mute everyone so that we don't have? I'm Karen Gettleman. I am co-chair of Sylvia Weiss. I'm so thrilled that we are all here tonight as one LCAB community, the men and the women together, to support the impactful work of the Jewish Federation. This year looks very different than we all expected. And while our 2020 play days have been canceled, we're so happy for the beauty of Zoom technology so that we can come together tonight to toast the incredible leadership of both Amy Mazur, our Sylvia Weiss Women's Philanthropy Golda Award recipient, and Jay Mangel as the Ben-Gurion Award recipient. They are both dear friends and wonderful, caring individuals, and it is my pleasure to recognize them this evening. The men and women of El Caballero Country Club have been agents of change within our Jewish community for generations. We have been at the forefront of caring for those in need and share the responsibility of both healing and transforming our community by supporting the work of the most meaningful organization, the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles. Now, more than ever, in the midst of this pandemic, the Federation is here, caring for our community's most vulnerable.
Thank you, Karen, and I couldn't agree with you more. I've had the great pleasure of chairing the men's committee for LCAB for the last 3 years, and while this year has certainly been unprecedented, tonight's just another opportunity for our community to show up for each other and for the Federation. First, I'd like to thank the members of the LCAB event committee, for which tonight would not have been possible. Those members are Georgia Capo, Karen Freeman, Karen Gettleman, David Jacobs, Jody Kirkbride, Toby Kopikin, Susan Crane, Carol Lazar, Jay Mangel, Steve Martini, Judy Newsomblatt, Laura Ozer, and Janie Zimmer. To all of you, thank you so much for participating and helping out with this. It took some time, but thank you for being with us. I'd also like to acknowledge the Jewish Federation's chair of the board, Albert Praw, who is here with us tonight, and you will get to hear from him later in the evening. We were very intentional in creating tonight's program for you all. We wanted to make sure that we were supporting LCAB, a place that we all love, having a chef create a delicious assortment of appetizers and sweets. We wanted to support a Napa Valley winery who had been impacted in some way by the horrific fires that we all know all too well about. And of course, we wanted to support the Jewish Federation, the reason why we are all here, the heartbeat of Jewish LA, who has continued to repair our community during a time of so much unknown. Here to tell us more about how we are creating impact in our backyard is Federation President and CEO Jay Sanderson. Jay, thank you for being with us tonight, and thank you for the tireless work that you and the entire Federation have put into this last year.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Karen. And I want to add my congratulations to my friends, Amy and Jay, two outstanding honorees, two outstanding human beings. I think one of the great things about our Federation is when we honor people, we honor the best of us. And Jay and Amy, you're the best of us. So congratulations. I'm not going to talk very long because I know most of the people on this call want to drink, but I do want to acknowledge the work that we have done, as Jim referenced, over the last 9+ months. And in truth, the work that we've done over the last 9+ months is frankly because of everything that we did leading up to it. Our Federation was as prepared as any Jewish organization could be to deal with this historic pandemic, because we in 2009 created a social service infrastructure that helped us get through the economic downturn of 2008, 2009, and got us through the fires 2.5 years ago, the Woolsey fires. And we were on top of things. And we have done a lot of great work here and in Israel, dealing with the issues that we all think about, caring for our most vulnerable, dealing with food insecurity, and making sure that our Jewish ecosystem not only got through this crisis, but got through this crisis in the most powerful and positive way. What I really want to do is talk about what we're doing in our neighborhood, because I, like you, living in the Valley, I live in Encino. I see many of you walking in the neighborhood. I never saw you walk before, but now everybody has a little more time to walk. We are dealing with some direct issues in our beloved San Fernando Valley. First, when it comes to our most vulnerable, I think we all know that the Valley has tremendous Jewish poverty and has Holocaust survivors that live amongst us that are getting food delivered to them. But we also have a growing population of people that are poor that weren't poor before, including students at our local campuses, Cal State Northridge, Pierce, and Valley College. Most of us, and I know Kathy Mangel's on the phone and on the Zoom, and she's done an extraordinary leadership job at Hillel 818. Most of us don't think about these students in terms of what their needs really are. And many of the students that go to our Valley colleges did depend on part-time jobs to pay their rent, to get food on the table. And most of them are unemployed. And we are making sure they get our emergency cash grants and our interest-free loans. They're also dealing with a challenge in our community that is a new challenge, and that is mental health. And they are dealing with anxiety and depression. I know most of us who have children who are now homebound see this. Our young people are suffering in ways they never suffered before. And I want to assure you that we're on top of that, especially with our Valley young people. And then there are institutions, our early childhood centers, our schools, our synagogues. And our federation launched recently a care fund to make sure that our Valley institutions had resources to reopen when they're able to reopen. And when they will reopen, they'll need plexiglass and PPP equipment. And our federation has stood really steadfast side by side with our Valley organizations to make sure they're okay. And of course, our community security initiative is working 24/7 to make sure all of our synagogues and schools, as we are more and more concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism, are well protected. The last thing I want to talk about is the ecosystem that is now struggling through COVID, that was somewhat struggling before, and that's our day schools and our synagogues. And I'm proud to say our federation has taken the lead to work with a number of synagogues and schools about mergers and about collaboration. I am working directly with Shomrei Torah and Temple Aliyah on a new initiative that I believe will create a brand new spiritual community in the West Valley. And I'm working with a number of day schools throughout the community to try to figure out how they can come out of this crisis stronger. So I am doing that individually, and our federation is doing that communally. We are on top of our whole community, but I know we care about our neighborhood too. And I wanted to stress the powerful, important work we're doing in not just the San Fernando Valley, but all 5 valleys that we serve. And I want to thank you all, because this is clearly a team effort. Jim referenced the staff, and we have worked extraordinarily hard. We have a smaller staff today than we did before COVID because we made the adjustments necessary to make sure that we were as efficient and effective with limited resources as we would be. But we do this in partnership with all of you, because you are our friends, our leaders, and frankly, our treasured donors. So all of you who have made your gift this year, I want to thank you. For the few on this call that haven't made their gift yet, I hope that you will make it soon, especially as we get towards the end of the year and this virus continues and spikes. And if you've made your gift, I want to tell you about something that many of you have heard about, and I just want to say it now, is that we're in the middle of a match. For every increased gift we get or new gift we get between now and frankly the end of November, we will get 50 cents on a dollar matched through the Jewish Federations of North America and a number of foundations that I am working with directly. That means if you give an additional dollar today on top of the gift you already made, we will get $1.50 for our community and the work that we're doing in our community. So if you're able this year to increase your gift or make a new gift, I encourage you to do so. The challenges in front of us have been great, and they will continue to be great, but we will get through this together because we have a strong community, and the strength of our community lives in the San Fernando Valley and are represented on this call and golf at El Cab, or as Carmi does, swim in the cold water of the El Cab pool. So congratulations again to our honorees. Thank you to our leadership, and thank you all. And I wish you a l'chaim, and please drink. You don't have to drink that responsibly because you're not getting in your car, but I'm in the Federation right now. If you're getting in the car, please don't drink that much because I still have to drive home. Thank you all.
Good evening. Thank you, Jay. It's so good to see you, Jay. It's so good to see all of our friends, and I'm just thrilled to be here. And thank you, Amy, and of course, Mazel Tov to Jay Mangel as well. But I am here to welcome and honor Amy Mazer. And I'm so proud of you. You're a master jewelry artist. You're a dancer. You're an animal lover, you're a friend, and you're a philanthropist. And your dedication to your family is beyond belief. Of course, to Harold, Sarah, Eddie, and Hannah, and Elliot, and Michelle, and Rebecca. And of course, lovely Zoe, who I love as well. Our trips to Israel are fond memories I will forever cherish, because we always have a great time and we learn so much. But you and I, Amy, we hold the record for attending the most women's missions since 1999. And we're very proud of that record. You are most deserving of this El Cab Golda Award as you set an example of giving from your heart. You set an example for all of us, and we cherish you. So mazel tov to you, Amy.
Thank you, Carmi. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Right, so you're.
All right, thank you everyone for this honor. I know I shouldn't be nervous, but I am. But here goes. After our Havara of over 20 years disbanded, Harold suggested we join El Cab. I was fine with the idea since I knew several club members from the women's department, so we joined in 2012. My involvement in Federation's then Valley Alliance was mostly with the women. I have always felt honored to be a part of this group of smart, caring, dedicated, and philanthropic women. There was always an educational component at these meetings. So besides learning mostly about what the Federation's work here in LA, traveling abroad with the Federation opened my eyes to their life-saving work around the world in partnership with the Joint Distribution Committee. It was on the women's missions that we saw the many ways we are involved in impacting and changing lives in Israel. Addressing the dire problems of those needing help, ensuring the Jewish future, and engaging in the community are the reasons Harold and I continue to support the work of our Jewish Federation. El Cab Play Day was one of my favorite events. We always heard from incredible speakers with amazing stories. And of course, I looked forward to playing Mahjong. That we were unable to hold this year's Play Day, I was most disappointed that we did not get to hear from Deborah Lipstadt. Through these past months, I've gotten used to having meetings and some events on Zoom. And I want to thank the committee and the staff for planning this evening's program. For now, I thank all of you for coming to this event and for this honor, recognizing my involvement in the Federation as a member of El Cab. I look forward to the time when we can raise our glasses and celebrate together in person. L'chaim.
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 L'chaim. Amy, congratulations. You truly are a woman of valor.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Jeff Caper, and I've known Jay Mangel for over 30 years. We've worked together. We drank wine. We traveled. We drank wine. We raised money for charities. We've been to wine tastings where we drank wine. And along with his wife, Kathy, I've had the opportunity to watch his 3 daughters Lauren, Chelsea, and Allie grow up. And now that Lauren is expecting her first child, Jay will be joining the Grandfathers Club. Jay, I guess that means more wine. How appropriate that this started as a Jewish Federation golf tournament, and Jay created COVID, so it had to become a virtual wine tasting. Jay has always been passionate about charitable causes, whether it was for the City of Hope, National Jewish, cystic fibrosis, or Cedars-Sinai Hospital. He has lent his name and bid for many trips and cases of wine at charitable events. Today, we present Jay with the 2020 Ben-Gurion Award, named after the primary founder of the State of Israel and its first prime minister. We honor Jay as a philanthropist who has generously dedicated his time and attention to support Jewish causes. Where you spend your attention is where you spend your life. Attention and time is one's currency. Where you spend it determines what you get out of life. Jay has made that investment, and we are all better for it. It's my pleasure to introduce my friend and congratulate Jay Mangel.
Thank you, Jeff. That was so kind. I'm speechless. Similar to a few years ago when Jeff and I were actually honored together, we said we'd only be honored if they would honor our wives. I can't do or couldn't do what I've done in my career if the lady next to me, if Kathy wasn't by my side. She makes everything I do a lot easier and a lot more pleasurable to go through all this. She also drinks a lot of wine with us. And she is usually the one filling out the orders that Jeff and I commit to because we're not able to on our wine trips. Amy, congratulations to you as well. This is so well deserved for you. You and Harold are amazing people. And you both deserve to be honored, but especially you tonight. It's not my dog barking in the background, but whoever's dog it is, I appreciate it because I love all the dogs out there. No problem. I'm always worried it's going to be mine. You know, a year ago, I think all of us thought we'd be celebrating this a little bit differently on the golf course, during our play days. You know, obviously that's changed for all of us. But when I think back upon the year, certainly the beginning of COVID was really a hard adjustment for all of us. Once El Cab opened up, it became easier for me. And I know for many of people on this call, because we had a big part of our community back in front of us. The Jewish Federation is also a big part of our community. And at El Cab, the two come together. You know, this year, we were unfortunately couldn't do our men's mission that I always look forward to, that Harold and Steve Martini plan. I mean, these have been amazing trips we've done over the past few years, and it's brought many of us closer together. And I look forward to, you know, whether it's next year or the year after, when these things come back together for all of us. Thank you all for this honor. I'm not certain I'm as deserving as the people that have been honored before me, but I certainly appreciate it. And I look forward to sharing wine and drinks with all of you in person. Thank you all. L'chaim.
Mazel tov to Amy and Jay. What well-deserved honors. I have the great pleasure tonight of introducing our guests for this evening, who will lead us through delicious and enlightening wine tasting. Honig Vineyard and Winery was established in 1980 to honor the legacy of Louis Honig, who in 1964 had purchased a 68-acre ranch in Rutherford in the heart of the Napa Valley. The Honig family are leaders in sustainability, both in the vineyard and the winery, and what began as a small garage winery has today become a successful family enterprise, with everyone working collaboratively to run an inspiring and socially responsible business. As Jim had mentioned, when choosing a winery for tonight's event, we felt strongly about supporting a Napa Valley winery that had been impacted by the summer's recent fires. And when we found out that Honig family had deep connections to the Jewish community, we knew we had found the right one. We are pleased to be joined by Stephen Honig, Lewis's grandson, Director of California Sales and the nephew of my dear friend, and Stephanie Honig, Lewis's granddaughter-in-law, Director of International Sales, who will lead us in our tasting and give us a bit of their family history. Stephen and Stephanie, please take it away.
Thank you. I'm going to share a screen now. And let me see here. Can everyone see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Great. Okay, well, in the spirit of this fundraising effort and the award, congratulations, Amy and Jay, but specifically to Amy, Golda Meir actually came to San Francisco and was trying to raise money for the state of Israel in 1948. And my grandfather was part of the first donor group. And to honor his contribution for the state of Israel, he was invited in 1961 to Israel by the government to tour Israel. So we went with, I was just talking to my mom today. She was 22 years old. My aunts were about 18 years old. And they went to visit Israel and they had an amazing time. So I just wanted to tie that fundraising effort and the award, Amy and Jay, to the first Prime Minister and Golda, who was so important in our history of the state of Israel. So congratulations, Amy and Jay. Just to give a little introduction, like I said, my name is Stephen Honig. I'm the Director of California Sales. I'm also an advisor to the Executive Committee. Sister-in-law Stephanie is in charge of national and international sales and communications. And we are partners with 14 other family members in Honig Vineyard and Winery. And we're located right in the heart of the Napa Valley in Rutherford, California. We're family owned, we're sustainably farmed, and we're solar powered. Okay. This is our little pie slice of heaven along the Napa River. We have 70 acres, half of which are planted to Sauvignon Blanc and other white Bordeaux varietals. And the other half is planted to Cabernet Sauvignon and other red Bordeaux varietals. To give you a little history of the winery, my grandfather, Louis Honig, he ran an advertising agency in San Francisco in the beginning and also had an annex branch in Los Angeles. He was doing ad campaigns for West Coast companies like Levi's, Clorox, Wells Fargo, C&H Sugar, and Italian Swiss Colony Wines, America's Table Wine. Does everyone remember America's Table Wine, Italian Swiss Colony? A little bit. In any case, this was his ad campaign, The Little Old Winemaker Me. He created in the early 1960s. So this campaign and the commercials were ingrained in popular culture enough to inspire a parody song from Dean Martin called Little Old Winemaker or Wine Drinker Me. So you can check it out on YouTube. I imagine that the commercial probably ran like Geico commercials run these days, just you see it over and over again. And so Dean Martin made some little parody song of it. So anyway, just Louis Petri here, pictured here, he was the president of Italian Swiss Colony Wines, and they took over Inglenook in Rutherford. And after he moved there, he invited my grandfather and my grandmother up to dances and to social events on weekends, and they kind of immersed themselves in the Napa Valley lifestyle. And Louis Petri told my grandfather that Napa Valley, and especially this area of Rutherford, had the potential to become a world-renowned wine growing region. And he really influenced his purchase. So in 1964, my grandfather bought the vineyard, and his intention was to be a gathering place for family, and eventually he wanted to retire there and make wine. I think after seeing Mad Men, I think he wanted to retire and drink wine, as the Dean Martin song probably suggests. But anyway, on the property at the time, there were orchards, apricots, walnuts. I can remember as a child, I couldn't really play hide and go seek because you would always crunch on the walnuts and everyone would know where you were. So it was kind of a moot thing to try to play. But also on the property, we had chickens, we had cattle, and we had about 2 acres of vines. And we slowly converted our property from these orchards to vineyards in the late 60s and early 70s. and we were selling off our grapes to people like Caymus, who were a neighboring winery. So in 1974, Caymus actually made an award-winning single vineyard designated Sauvignon Blanc from our property. That kind of planted a seed in our brain. Hey, if other people can make acclaimed wines with our grapes, then maybe one day we can make our own acclaimed wines. So I kind of set it forth in 1974. It took a little while. So this is actually the tractor barn, the 2,000 square foot tractor barn that became the winery. This is about 1976. You can see a 63 Chevy there on the side, which my brother and I used to drive up and down the driveway for spend our time. And unfortunately, my grandfather, he died in 1977. He wasn't able to attain his dream of retiring, living on the property and making wine. So we make wine in his honor. We focused on Sauvignon Blanc because at that time it was relatively unheard of varietal, and we wanted to make something that wasn't saturated like established varietals like Chardonnay or Cabernet. Also at that time, my uncles had called UC Davis, and the professors there were touting this new grape Sauvignon Blanc is great for the Rutherford area and growing conditions. And also I like to credit Robert Mondavi, who was going around to local growers, and he was trying to promote people to grow Sauvignon Blanc. He's promoting putting it in a bottle and going out and tasting it, and really kind of marketing the varietal because it was relatively unheard of at the time. So he really applied what I call the beautiful mind philosophy by economist John Nash, in this respect that he really believed that we all could win in the Napa Valley if we grew the whole size of the Napa Valley pie instead of just the Mondavi slice of the pie. So I always credit him for really thinking outside the box. Most people gravitate towards their own business, don't really take into account the whole worldly aspect. And he really was a forward thinker in that respect. And we really love to pay homage to him for that fact. So this is a shot of our 1980 Sauvignon Blanc. HNW Vineyards was Honig, Nadel, and Weinstein, my father's name and my two aunts' married names. And in 1980, we produced our first vintage of 200 cases of Sauvignon Blanc. And this was produced in the 2,000 square foot tractor barn. And it actually won the double gold medal at the Orange County Fair. And that kind of put us on the wine industry landscape. So we added Cabernet to the mix in 1989. And my grandfather, he always told us when we were little, he said you should do things right, don't do everything under the sun, and specialize in things. Don't try to be everything to everyone. So that's why we specialize in Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet. Also, Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet are genetically related. So Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc were used to create Cabernet Sauvignon. So they grow in similar conditions and grow very well side by side. So today we produce about 50,000 cases of Sauvignon Blanc and about 25,000 cases of Cabernet. So from a tractor barn of 2,000 square feet, today we now occupy about 40,000 square feet of offices, winemaking facilities, and our tasting room. Today, Honig is considered a leader in sustainable practices, and the wines are widely recognizable and available. In the 22nd annual restaurant poll, Wine and Spirits, Honig actually made it to the top spot on restaurant wine lists in the whole country.
Wow.
So that was a really nice coup for us after so many years. And then we were recently, a couple of years ago, Oprah actually recommended our Sauvignon Blanc as a summer white. And I hear they always say, if Oprah recommends anything, then you've made it. So we'll take it. And then also last year, we were honored by the Wine Spectator in an article called 8 Napa Valley Gems at 90 plus points. And they gave our Sauvignon Blanc a really nice 91-point score. For the Cabernet, we actually made it to the 13th most popular spot on restaurant wine lists in the 28th annual restaurant poll. And the Cabernet has hit a couple top 100s. In 2009, we were 89th in the world. In 2010, we were 54th in the world. So really like that both of the Sauvignon Blancs and the Cabs have such recognition and such a following. So Honig means honey in German, and bees are an essential part of our sustainable ecosystem on the property. And the logo is a representation of that. So here are beehives out by the river. What they do is they help pollinate nitrogen-rich plants out on the outskirts of the vineyard. Insects migrate towards those plants that the bees pollinate. And then we have bat houses and bird houses, bluebird houses that eat up the insect environment. And in that respect, we don't have to use any herbicides or any pesticides, and it works out very nicely. So we tied our heritage with the logo into the purity of our land, and that's how we came up with the logo. All right. So we are certified California sustainable wine growing. We're Napa Green certified land and certified in the winery. In 2006, we installed our solar power system, and we're 100% solar powered for both our business and for our residences. A little bit about our winemaker, Kristen Belair. She graduated from UC Davis with a fermentation science degree, Bachelor of Science. And that's today is known as Oenology. This was 1981. She interned in Australia for many years. She worked at Trefethen. She shaped the Turnbull Cabernets of the late 80s and early 90s. And then she came over to Honig in 1998. So she's on her 38th harvest and 23rd year with Honig. So she's added incredible balance and consistency to her wines. She always describes her winemaking style as a combination of elegance, power, and grace. So she likes to climb, backpack, ski. She's an active ski patroller, and she's very highly respected among her peers and was actually named by winebusiness.com as one of the trailblazing women winemakers through the first 20 years, 1964 to 1984. I don't think you received any postcards, but if you want to go online to the website, www.honigwine.com, you'll see a collection of our different postcards. And the idea behind our postcards is pretty simple. We've been sending them out annually since 1993, which in that year, this is the kind of the cornerstone of our marketing program. So we started out with about 400 people that we sent these postcards to. And we received about a 12.5% response rate. About 50 people contacted us in some way. And we figured, hey, it's 7 cents a postcard. We don't have much of a marketing budget. It's a good way to communicate with our customers. And it kind of fit with what we're trying to do. And we're up to about 30,000 nationwide. So we're very serious about our winemaking. We try to put a really good bottle of wine together at a good price, but we just try not to take ourselves very seriously in the process. So a few of them, if you can't read it, the one in the middle, it's always kind of a spoof on what's happening in mainstream society, different commercials. So the middle one is, I don't always drink white wine, but when I do, I prefer Honig Sauvignon Blanc. It is the most interesting wine in the world. The other one is down low is a homage to my grandfather's advertising agency. Instead of Mad Men, we put Cab Men. And the one to the left, that was when romance novels were very popular. We called it The Vineyards of Desire. She was full-bodied and complex. He had irresistible, firm tannins. So again, just trying to, wine is really good. If you like it, it's a kind of, everyone has a signature fingerprint of a palate. Certain people like certain things. Our message is, listen, if you like our wine, great. If not, we hope you like our story, and it's just all personal preference. So, and for that, I am ready to turn it over to Stephanie. If Stephanie, are you on the line?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Stephen. My name is Stephanie Honig, and I am Stephen's sister-in-law. Let's see if I can see everybody. I like to see all the faces, actually. So thanks for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Stephen, for giving the whole background and the history. So does everybody have wine open? Yes? Okay. You know what's so weird? I mean, I get the whole concept of mute, but it's so weird because you can't hear people's expressions and feedback.
Yes, we have wine.
Thank you.
I'll unmute so I can talk to you. Yay, Stephanie.
Good. So you have our classic Sauvignon Blanc, correct?
Bridge. So
Perfect. This one. Yeah. So as Stephen may have mentioned, so I joined a little later, but as Stephen may have mentioned, we focus on just the two varietals, Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Sauvignon exclusively. And it's what the two great varietals are what grow well here on our property. They're actually, Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Sauvignon are actually related to each other. So many moons ago, Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc were combined, and that's how Cabernet Sauvignon was born. So there's kind of a parent-child relationship, and that's why they both do well in the same environment. So, so this is our classic Sauvignon Blanc. It's very clean, crisp, tropical, a lot of mango, papaya, melon. Napa Valley is, I'm sure a lot of you have been here since everybody's, you can just nod if you want, but everybody's Southern California or
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, so we have, only 2% of the world is Mediterranean climate, and that's our climate here. So because the fruit ripens so well, we have those mango, papaya, melon, floral notes. You can make Sauvignon Blanc in a lot of different places, but terroir is a big part of what makes wine unique, which is the combination of climate and soil and people, of course. But Marlborough, New Zealand is very well known for Sauvignon Blancs, but they have maritime climate, so it's cooler. So if you've had a Marlborough, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc before, you've known it. It's more grassy, grapefruit, more lime, just different characteristics. So we're basically ripening fruit and getting different characters out of that fruit. But this is fermented in stainless steel. So very clean, very crisp, a beautiful wine to have on its own, by the pool, lunch, fish. It's a very light, fun wine, very crisp acidity. The malic acid, which is the natural acid that the fruit is picked with, is very present. It's kind of the acid that's in an apple when you bite in and you have the acid in the back of your palate. So yeah, so that's the style of this wine. But I'd love to take questions. I mean, and I don't know if you guys have, and I'll go into the red, but I'd love to see if anybody has questions for either Steve or myself from the presentation he gave. Or
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So there are so many wineries. Yikes. I mean, there's many wineries as there are people. So what differentiates? What are those things that are responsible for creating, a really great winery like what you guys have developed?
That's a great question. So, I mean, a lot of it is, well, where you are is one. I mean, that's a complex question and we could talk all night, but I'll try to keep it simple. But where you are, so Napa Valley is really known as the top of the pyramid for wines, and this 4% of the wine made in the state of California. So premium, really focused on quality, not quantity. We have the soil and the climate. We have different conditions, and the soil and climate help with quality. So you have the long dry growing seasons, the cool nights and the warm days that allows the grapes to rest at night. So the grapes get a chance to have more phenolic development and not just ripen and get full of sugar. The way we farm. So, we stress out, we're known to, we call it stress out the grapes, kind of like an athlete. So we don't give they look like blueberries. If you've been out here and seen the grapes on the vine, they look really small. So with a lack of irrigation and water, you want high fruit concentration and really to maximize the flavor and have low yields. So that's another way of having of creating quality. But it's really, it's the place, but it's really also the people behind it, right? And what there are a lot of great wines in the world, but when you buy wine, it's really good to know who the producers are, and you want to get good value too. I'm always looking for good value wines based on the region, because and where it's coming from in the world. But knowing producers is important also, right? Knowing if they, what they're, if they have sustainable practices or, yeah, I like following individual producers and buying their wine, but the place of where they're coming from is important too. That was a long answer, and there's so many factors, but does that help a little bit at least?
Yeah, and clearly the people behind the winery.
Yeah, there's a lot of passion in winemaking. Happy winemaker, happy wine, good people at the winery, happy wine. So it's really about creating a culture and creating, our mission statement is quality is the first thing on our mission statement, and everyone buys into that. So for years like this year where we couldn't make a quality Cabernet because of the fires, we won't make one.
Right.
So it's always about quality first for us. It's always about treating everyone as a family, even if they're not share the same name as you, but we try to treat our employees as we would treat our own family. And it's really creating kind of that environment where people are having fun, but take their job seriously. And hopefully that translates into the product that's getting out to the public. Anywhere from the person who's transferring from a barrel of wine to another barrel, to cleaning out barrels, to those selling it, to those, promoting, all those things like that. I just have to say that Stephanie's husband, my brother, Michael, he's the president of Honig Vineyard and Winery. And I always like to pay homage to Michael because at 19 years old, we had to decide if this was going to be a business or if it was going to be a hobby. We couldn't just kind of linger in between. So we wanted to make a real business. We pulled him out of college and he started running the winery and he has actually, grown this thing to the level we are at today. He's traveled 5.3 million miles on American.
Oh, wow.
And maybe, sorry about that, Stephanie. you might want to let him, not want him to travel so much, but they call him the James Brown of the wine industry. He's full of energy. We call him Peter Pan because he never ages. He looks like he did 20 years ago. And I just love my brother and love the effort. And they always say as a middle brother, it's a lot easier because your brother, it kind of plows the way for you. And he certainly did that for us. So.
Yeah, no, and I think that's another piece too. When it's a family business, we're committed to getting it to the fourth generation. Steve and Michael's grandfather purchased the land in the 60s and Steve has 2 kids, we have 4. I mean, we want to get it to them, right? And so there's a commitment there to for brand integrity and quality integrity. And like Steve said, in the fires, in 2020, it was terrible because we had so much smoke taint in the valley that a number of wineries decided to make wine. We made a Sauvignon Blanc. We made less of it, and because it's an earlier enough ripener that we were able to pick it in time that it wasn't impacted. But Cabernet, we decided to not produce it just because we weren't going to take the chance of having a subpar wine in the bottle. And this is what we do, right? We've been making wine for 40 years. So for us to get to harvest, we prepare all year and get to harvest and not make a wine is devastating. But the commitment to quality and family and where the business will be in 10, 20 years is important to us. So I think just looking at maybe the ownership or the philosophy or the cultural is key also, which you could say that about any business, right? Or any industry. But
anyway, I'd like to call your attention also the Sauvignon Blanc on the back label. You see a little button. It's called 40 years. And so this is our 40th vintage of Sauvignon Blanc. And I don't think many people consider making Sauvignon Blanc 40 years ago. So there were a handful of producers back then, but feel very blessed to come out with this 40th vintage. And it's really kind of a signature wine from our family that we started with. And I will use that to parlay into our Cabernet tasting because we're
wait, Sandy has been raising his hand. They've noticed. I don't know if someone else has, but yeah.
Thank you. First of all, I've been drinking the Cabernet and it is absolutely delicious. I have to teach a class in about 45 minutes and I'm going to finish the bottle. So I have no idea what the class is going to be like. But anyway, it's absolutely delicious. And I know you're going to hate this question, but I know we can buy your product online probably. Do you have, are you selling it through any places in Southern California, like Bevmo or any other places that we can get it easily?
Yeah, Steve,
Yeah, so you can find it at Whole Foods, Bevmo, Cost Plus, Pavilions, Albertsons, and Vons. Those are kind of the major retailers, and then many small independent retailers as well. We always like to support the small people that got us to where we are. They would carry it, and if they don't carry it in your local wine shop, they have access to it and they can get it very easily. Also, at the end of this, if we do receive it, Gelson's, Bristol Farms,
oh great,
Ralph's, things like that. So those are the options. You also at the end of this, if we're provided an email address that we can talk to Alexia about, because you've participated in a virtual tasting, we can offer you a wine club membership for a day, in which you'll be able to purchase wines directly from us for 15% off of the price for a bottle, 20% off for a case. And so I'll speak with Alexi later. If you're interested in anything like that, then she can gather the email addresses and provide them, then we can send it directly to you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Hey, Jay, how many cases are we buying this time?
And I got to say, this crowd loves wine. You talk about wine and drinking wine all the time. So you're a winemaker's dream. You know, people always say, how long should I hold on to this wine for? And we're like, don't hold on to it, drink it. You know?
Just put Jeff Caper down for 10 cases. It's not a problem.
Great, Jeff Caper. Great. What's his CC number?
I have a question, Stephanie, for you. You said that this Sauv Blanc has been in stainless tanks. Is that common for most Sauv Blancs now? Because are barrels still used for Sauv Blanc in some wineries? Or have you ever used regular oak barrels?
Yeah, we have another Sauvignon Blanc we make. So a reserve, or we call it our single. Oh, there it is. So that's our single vineyard Sauvignon Blanc. So we make a very small amount of that wine, but we do experiment a little bit with barrels. You can. Traditionally, Sauvignon Blanc is known as a more aromatic grape. It's more common that it's in stainless steel. But you can make it in barrels. So what we do with that other Sauvignon Blanc, it's fermented about a third in stainless steel, a third in new oak, and a third in neutral oak. So when you taste it, it still tastes like a Sauvignon Blanc, but it has a little of the oaky flavors. It's like right in between a Chardonnay or a Sauvignon Blanc. So when you taste an oak Sauvignon Blanc, it can taste more similar to what you know as Chardonnay, just because you're used to that richer vanilla character. But traditionally, Sauvignon Blanc is stainless, and in Graves and in France, that's where you see more Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc in barrels. But
we make a reserve Sauvignon Blanc in a little richer style because we only make 2 varietals, but we try to have a little dimension in each, trying to show what each grape is possible, what's possible with each grape. Sauvignon Blanc, generally, it's interesting that when we were first starting out in the business, we were double barrel fermenting Sauvignon Blanc, trying to be like Chardonnay, which was the queen of the wine industry at that time. And we really, we kind of backed off of that and found our own identity. And Sauvignon Blancs have really, the idea about oak is you grow all this great fruit to really try to accentuate fruit. And if you put in oak, it kind of masks the fruit a little bit. So it's interesting what's happening now with Chardonnays. A lot of times now they're backing off a lot of the oak, letting a lot of the fruit come forward. So it's kind of come full circle. So.
Hey, Jim Felton. Oh. So if you have a case, one second. The winery also has a mediation center on the premises. So I was there actually last week with Weinstein.
With Daniel Weinstein? Yeah. So Danny has a mediation center up there, and he's one of the top mediators. He's our one of our partners, the original Honig, Nadel, and Weinstein. So my aunt's husband, So he has a mediation center there, and he brings people up there during the actors strike. John Travolta was walking around the property. During the BP oil spill, we had some headdress, a chief from the tribe. And he likes to bring people up to the mediation center. And during the break, they go over to the winery, they take a little glass of wine. Everyone calms down a little bit. He feels the fresh air in the winery is very calming. And then
I bet he settles 100% of his cases.
You didn't settle one we had last week, I'll tell you that.
Stephanie and Stephen, I think let's move on to the cab, and I'm sure there's
Yes.
gonna be a lot more questions as the
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So the cab,
Stephanie's going to get to her kids after this, but I'll stay on and answer any questions you have.
so the Cabernet, you know, and we, in Napa Valley, you have to have a minimum of 75% of one varietal. Actually, Matt, sorry, I do have the keys at home. Of one varietal, to have that name on the label. So by law, we have to, this needs to have at least 75% Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't know, Steve, if you have the breakdown of what it is exactly, this vintage. I don't.
Yeah, it's 86% Cabernet, 7% Malbec, 3% Cabernet Franc, 2% Petit Verdot, and 2% Merlot. So those are all 5 of the Bordeaux varietals are represented. In this particular year, 2017, it's actually to come full circle again. This was when the original fires hit the Napa Valley. We didn't use any fruit after October 9th because it was smoke tainted like this year, but it's a very low production quality Cabernet. And we're using a little more, usually we have a little bit more Petit Verdot in it, and it gives it a little more darker flavors. But in this particular year, it's promoting a little more of the cranberry, a little more of the pomegranate, a little more of the red characteristics that you find in Cabernets. So it's a little change, but it's a beautiful wine. I tasted it first time when it was released, and I was just blown away. I just congratulated the whole team. They did a really great job during a really difficult year, 2017. And really proud to be able to present this to you today.
Yeah, and in 17 we were, thank you. In 17 we were lucky because the fires, as Steve said, didn't hit until October 9th. So we were able to get all this fruit in prior to the fire. We'd lost some, but everything else was in before. So I call this, it's a Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a full-bodied wine, but I call this more of a feminine style of Cabernet Sauvignon, just because it's really known for this suppleness and softness and elegance, and I hope nobody takes offense to that, but I like using, because the tannins are present, and they clearly there are tannins in the wine, which helps with the ageability of the wine and structure, but they're very ripe and very smooth. So it's a very versatile wine. It works well with steak, but it can pair with fish, it can pair with chicken, it can it's a great wine for in a meal setting where you're eating different dishes or different people are eating different things, because it doesn't overpower the food. It's really known to complement food.
It's great for with the cheeses that you have, and also with the chocolate that you have on your plate, I believe. Or as someone said, I was at a wine dinner, I was telling everyone what these wines pair well with, and some gentleman in the background, he clinked in his glass. He raised his hand. He said, "I know what this wine pairs well with." And I go, "What, sir?" He goes, "My glass." Anyway, Stephanie, are you good for a few more minutes, or do you need to?
Yeah, and I can stay on a few more minutes. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Do you grow all your own fruit, or do you buy?
So we do both. So our model, we use all the fruit. We have a 68-acre parcel, and about 55 of those acres are planted to vine, about 1/3 Cabernet, 2/3 Sauvignon Blanc, and we utilize all of that fruit, but we also purchase from other growers. So in the case of these 2 wines that you have today, we use our fruit as the core blend, and then we buy from other growers that we've worked with for many years to complete the blend.
And it used to be that we just used fruit from our property early on in our existence. And then what happened was phylloxera hit our vineyard. And so what it did was it forced us to go out and get different grape contracts from different areas in the Napa Valley. And we had always thought, oh, when our grapes come back on, we'll just, cancel the contract or not have any more contracts and just use our fruit. But we grew. So we held on to those growers. And actually, it's added an incredible diversification to our wine. So where we used to just get qualities from the Rutherford area and that we would grow and have certain taste to it, now we're able to go a little north, a little south, hillside, flatland, different qualities that go into the full-bodied and full kind of spectrum of the Napa Valley flavors and aromas that are available.
And how did you survive COVID? What happened? How long were you closed? Were you able to keep all your employees?
Yes, so we, it's been a rough year, but yes, we kept all of our employees. And, typically we travel all the time, so that's taken a halt. Because we're pretty diversified, we are a mostly wholesale brand. We sell in a lot of restaurants, and that's where we've seen the biggest impact, because restaurants and hotels are closed. But our direct-to-consumer business and our retail business is up. So in markets like New York and Florida, where our restaurant business is very strong, we've struggled. But in places like New Jersey and Texas, we've actually been up. So, I'd say we weathered it better than most. But it's been a very, very difficult year. Our visitation's been down, especially after the fires. But yeah, we've weathered the storm, I think, better than most, but it's been a challenge for sure.
So we're very proud to be able to hold on to all our employees. What we did was when they closed the tasting room, we were able to take the employees from the tasting room and actually put them on our bottling line. So they were bottling our 2020 Sauvignon Blanc. And then when that was done, we actually moved some of them into the cellar, and we were able to use them in different areas to keep them employed and keep it going. So we're very happy about that.
Yeah, we retrained them to do different jobs so that we could keep them on board. So yes.
Speaking of different jobs, I think it would be nice if you invited us all up to Napa during harvest next year, and we'll help you pick fruit.
I like that. I
like
that.
it too.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Let's do it.
Well, I always have an open invitation to all the virtual tastings we're doing. I say, look, I can't wait to the day that I can see you in person up at the winery, shake your hand, and I'm going to give you a big hug.
Right.
And I can't wait till our next trip to Napa and to come visit Honig Winery. It sounds like you have a wonderful operation. Thank you so much, Steve and Stephanie, for joining us today. And I hope that you'll stay on after we kind of formally close this program to answer any questions or shipping information that anybody might have.
Yes.
So this was truly just a really delightful, wonderful way to end this day, tasting delicious wine, having El Cab snacks, and hearing about the work of our federation. Steve, thank you for sharing the connection with your family and Golda Meir and Israel. And that really just brought it all home in terms of, the wonderful reason why we collaborated on this event. And it was really just so nice. So thank you so much. Now what we have is, before we have the raffle, because I promised you all the raffle, we have some wonderful wines. I'm going to raffle off 3 Honigs and 4 other ones. So just kind of to close our wine tasting, let's all raise our glass one more time to Amy and Jay, our incredible honorees. Your leadership is inspiring, and we cannot wait till we can honor you more fully in person. We'll congratulate you with real hugs, not virtual ones, and well wishes. So to Amy and Jay, and to all of you for joining us, thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you.
And now we're going to, I'm going to recruit my son to help us. I'm going to show you all here the display of wines that we have. We have a Honig 2017 Cabernet Sauvignon. We have a Foxen, that's from the Santa Maria Valley, the only one from the Santa Maria Valley, 2016. We have another Honig Late Harvest Sauvignon Blanc, Rutherford Estate. We have a Stephen and Walker Howell Mountain 2017, a Honig, their Bartolucci, which is their Cab Sauvignon, which is a beautiful bottle. I'm hoping to win that, but let's see who gets it. We have a Tom Eddy over here. Sorry, I'm a little bit challenged, 2014. And then we have a Schrader's Bourview Pinot Noir 2013. And so I think Dylan's going to write in the name and who wins it. And my son is going to pick. We have, of course, a little ice cooler or wine cooler to pick the names out of. So Zachary's just going to pick the names for the number one. The Honig Cabernet Sauvignon will be.
Jill and Nat Linhart.
Oh, Jill and Nat Linhart. Yay, congratulations, Jill and Nat. All right, and for the Foxen Pinot Noir 2016.
Carmi and Harold Moncher.
Carmi and Harold Moncher, yay. For the Honig Late Harvest Sauvignon Blanc 2018, that goes to, oh, Peggy and Ed Robin. You got all the Robins represented here with winners. For the Stephen and Walker Howell Mountain Napa Valley Cab 2017 goes to, oh, me. I was not involved. I didn't take it. My son did. Thank you. Okay.
Is that
the next one is the Honig Cab. That's the Bartolucci Vineyard, Napa Valley 2015. And that goes to, oh, Karen and Jeff Goss. How nice. Yay. Another Karen. The Tom Eddy Napa Valley Cab 2014. That goes to, oh, Karen and Glenn Freeman. Yay. And the last one, the Schrader's Boar's View Pinot Noir 2013. And the winner of that one is Debbie and Arthur Greenberg. So congratulations, everyone. For those that won, we'll reach out to you after this event and coordinate getting the wines to you. So thank you all again for tonight, and a special thank you and shout out to our wonderful Federation professionals, Alexi, Lauren, and Marina, for your hard work in planning this virtually, which is not easy to do, coordinating between the winery and El Cab and everyone here. So thank you, thank you. Job well done. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Federation's Chair of the Board, Albert Pra, for some closing words.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you to you and your committee for your work in bringing together a very delightful evening. I want to join in congratulating Jay and Amy for a well-deserved recognition tonight. Mazel tov to both of you. This has really been a great evening of community. As I think back on my years as a member of El Cab, the word community best defines El Cab and what it stands for. It's not solely about its world-class golf course, which I butchered virtually every weekend, and for its social programs, but its commitment to philanthropy. That commitment to philanthropy binds us all to a community dedicated to a single purpose, and that is to address the needs of the vulnerable in our Jewish community, whether it's in the Valley, south of Mulholland, and in Israel. We're grateful for that partnership. We're grateful for the gifts that come from the members of El Cab, and we're grateful to the many El Cab members who have had and still do have senior leadership positions at Federation, and with whom I've had the great pleasure of working. Thank you for your support. Wishing you all continued health, and as best as we all can, have a happy and a safe Thanksgiving. Good night.